Hello students, I am Raghavan Kumar Singh, faculty of US Academy and Institute. Today we will discuss class 9th chapter 1 Democracy in the Contemporary World. In this chapter we were able to understand about what is democracy and why this democracy should be adopted by the governments to follow rules and regulations inside their country. So, first question arises in our mind is that what is democracy? Democracy is the form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. One chief factor common to all democracies is that the government is chosen by the peoples. And now, the two tales of democracy, in which first, Chile, Chile. Salvador Allende was president of Chile, a South American country. He was pro-poor and worker. He was opposed from rich landlords. Even America was unhappy with him. There were military coup led by General Augusto Pinochet, in which Allende was killed. Pinochet rules Chile for almost 18 years in autocratic style. Finally, democracy returned to Chile when Michelle Bachelet was elected as a president. Now in Poland. Poland was ruled by Polish United Worker Party and non-democratic communist government. Some workers led by Lech Walesa went on strike for their just demand. Initially, government negotiated, but later the ruler general Jaruzelski imposed martial law in the country. He was backed by Soviet Russia. Polish people continued their struggle, and finally Lech Walesa was elected democratically as the president of Poland. Now, the two features of democracy. Democracy, hence, is the form of government that allows peoples to choose their own leader. Means, peoples are able to choose their own choice leader. People have the freedom to express their views. Peoples have freedom to organize any function, and people have freedom to protest against injustice. The march of democracy has met with setbacks and successful throughout history. In 19th century, there were only a few democratic states. After the Second World War, in 1950, more countries were added. The newly independent nations of Asia chose democracy. In 1975, colonies in Africa had become independent, and most of them chose democracy as the form of government. A giant leap was taken in 1991. The fall of the Soviet Union created 15 new states and more democracies. Phases in the expansion of democracy, where the peoples are able to elect their own leaders to form a particular government, and they also have different freedoms such as freedom to speech, freedom to express their views, freedom to protest, and most of the other things should be in the favor of the peoples. Now, the phases in the expansion of democracy. By 2005, 140 countries have held multi-party elections. More than 80 countries have made advances towards democracy since 1980. Still, there are many countries where peoples cannot elect their leaders, such as in Myanmar. The elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been imprisoned by the military rulers in 1990. No amount of international support has been helped in her release. After the Second World War, many colonial nations were freed, and most of them adopted democratic style of government. Some of the experiments were not successful. Democracy at global level. It is possible to have democracy at global level. Maybe or may not be. The United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank are global associations of the world. They attempt to maintain peace and security among the countries of the world. They give loan and money to form government. They are not fully democratic. Such as 5 countries are there: US, United States, UK, United Kingdom, France, China, and Russia. They have the veto power in the Security Councils. What did you understand by the International Monetary Fund? IMF, which is controlled by wealthy 10 nations, and president of World Bank has been always an American. This is against democratic principles. Now, what about the promotion of democracy? Many powerful countries like the United States of America believe that democracy should be promoted in the world by forcefully or even by the peoples. Powerful countries have launched attacks on non-democratic countries. Iraq is the biggest example of that. USA and its allies attacks and occupies allies Iraq without United Nations sanction, means without the sanction of United Nations. On the pretext of Iraq possessing nuclear weapon, they have even held forced election. They argue for democracy should come from the people and should not be imposed. What about the democracy at the global level? Democracy at the global level is just only the international monetary, means international organizations, which automatically leads to democratic relation between the countries, means the government of that countries of the United States of America and so on. But there is no government of the world, means there are no rulers and ruled. How can we apply the features of democracy? So that many of the peoples who didn't know about these, they attempt to maintain peace and security among the countries of the world by giving loans or by processing the particular power related to the particular ruler. What about the decisions of the democratic? Many powerful countries like the United States and many others performs non-democratic countries, in which India is a democratic country, but United Nation doesn't. United States is also not a democratic country. On that basis, on the pretext that they have even held forced elections. But as we know, on the basis of these terms, America also have International Monetary Fund is one of the biggest money lender who pretend the money to International Monetary Fund, by which most of the countries are able to take help from the World Bank by voting, always being the citizen of the particular state or particular country. Now, what about the forced elections? The arc for democracy should come from the peoples. On the basis of that, they were forced to be elect a particular people as a democratic leader, which was chosen by the particular peoples of the particular state, particular community, particular level. Now, cons of democracy. Leaders keep changing in the democracy, leading to instability. Democracy is all about political competition and power play, leaving no scope of morality. Many peoples have to be consulted in a democracy that leads to delay. Elected leaders do not know the best interest of the people, resulting in bad decisions also. Democracy leads to corruption since it is based on electoral competition. Ordinary peoples don't know what is good for them. They should not decide anything. For these arguments, we can see that democracy of the kind we see may not be the ideal form of government. We will see if democracy is better than other form of government that are there for us to choose that form. Argument on the basis of the particular democracy. Democracy a democratic government is a better government because it is a more accountable form of government. Just take the example of India. From 1958 to 1961, despite its economical condition, the reason for this could be that India responded to the food scarcity in the way that the Chinese government did not. So, democracy improves the quality of decision making. Democracy is based on consultation and discussion. A democratic decision always involves many people's discussion and meeting, and they are able to point out possible mistakes in any decision. They may take time, however, the advantage of the taking time over important decisions is that it reduces the changes or the chances of rash or irresponsibilities in the decisions. Democracy means is to discuss the descriptive sense. Modern democracies involve such a large number of peoples that is physically impossible for them to sit together and to take a collective decision. So, how we were able to promote a democratic or a democracy? The most common form of government is today is democracy in the world, is being ruled by or through the people's elected representative. However, for a small country there can be other ways of making democratic decisions. All peoples are not able to sit together or make the decision directly, so there is a judiciary to make the decision of any dispute.